I want to go back a little further, and you have scaled Disco Donnie Presents on another level. You're hands down one of the biggest electronic promoters in America.
Unfortunately.
um,
Should have picked another genre too. No.
yeah. Do you do anything outside of electronic?
I I've dabbled in some stuff, when I first got into the rave scene, there was a lot of hip hop. So I mean, we did a lot of like old school hip hop because that we were like the two scenes were like kindred spirits.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of that at our shows. Um, I've done some, I've done some other stuff, but it just uh, it never felt really genuine.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be like the like going up to doing a country show, and
Yeah.
like it just didn't feel like. So we're kind of branching out into other genres now, just
Yeah.
because it just makes sense, and I'm kind of over that, like the authenticity part. Sorry.
Yeah. Time to make some money.
Like, yeah, no, well, I mean, I have a team that we can do whatever, right? So
Yeah.
I can't let my like we do good events, so
Exactly.
why not like delve into other things, and let that whole ego part go, where it's like, well, I don't feel comfortable um faking this, but I mean,
Yeah.
in the end, it's about the artist, and it's not about me. It's about the show and the artist. So
It's also about the
um
experience, isn't it, for the ticket buyer? And
yeah,
if you can create a really amazing experiences for the person that's going to the show and for the artist that's playing the show, it's like,
yeah,
why
we can do
not?
that. So
Yeah.
I always had like a wall about those type of things. So I was like, I don't want to. I always like thought it was kind of weird, like these promoters doing all this different genres and stuff. But I can see it now. We're working on a rock festival in Dallas,
Oh,
like an
cool.
emo fest
Yeah.
in Dallas. It's been really interesting. My team's excited about it,
Yeah.
because they grew up on all of that,
Yeah.
and so again, I had to remove my ego from the equation, and go where and look at the different business opportunities.
Yeah, totally. I get that. I want to go back to from when you go from promoting full time and then scaling that to where you're at now. How the hell do you even get there?
Well, I was doing like in the 90s, I had started doing stuff around the South.
Yeah.
Like people started reaching out. It was a little bit different back then because you couldn't really, everybody had their promoters in their cities, and they were all in a death match, right? They were all fighting with each other and
Yeah.
over dates and artists and stuff like that. So in the in the maybe like in 97, 98, I started doing stuff in Texas. My first show in Austin was in 96. I was doing stuff in Atlanta, stuff in Houston, stuff in Dallas, but you couldn't really, at the time, it would have been a detrimental to put my logo, was for what everybody thought, my logo on a flyer in another city, because it just would have been like, it was just so tribal. Like it was like the mob, right?
Yeah.
Everybody had their families and they were all at war with each other. So if you add somebody else into the mix, it just made everybody like hypersensitive.
Yeah.
So I was backing different people in different cities. So I had these relationships. And then when the whole market crashed in uh in like 2001, like
Yeah.
it was on a downward turn. Like it had become too big,
Yeah.
right? So it had become so big, and it was like the cool thing to do. And then once all these people started coming in, all the cool people left.
Yeah.
So then it kind of, so without like and again, this is free internet. I mean, internet's the baby, and
Yeah.
so people just, there was no backbone to it. There was no, people didn't really know the artist. It just kind of, it just imploded on itself
Yeah.
because it wasn't based on, it was like a scene.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't based on, it was just based on like, oh, this is the cool thing to do. It wasn't based on like the music or anything like that. So, and then we had the legal problems, and getting venues, and then 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
And that's when, and at the same time, like hip hop was exploding.
Massive. Yeah.
Right. So all these things came together. It was like a perfect storm. And, when we came out of it, like, the rave scene was like cut in half.
Yeah.
Like people, it was it was like a totally different world. So, that's when I started going around. So people stopped doing shows. I mean, they just couldn't, what didn't make any financial sense to do them. So I started going around to all the old promoters in the different markets, and we're like, hey, let's do shows. We'll do cheap tickets. We'll gather the people's email addresses, and when this thing comes back, then we'll be in the perfect position. Yeah. So I was able to kind of end up partnering up with a lot of people that already had been doing shows in the past, but just weren't doing anything anymore. And that's kind of how I spread around. At there wasn't a lot going on, so the agents were looking for like connector dates, right? So I could do like Thursday in Austin, Friday in Houston, Saturday in Dallas, so it was real easy for the agent just to contact me, send me a week. I've got Benny Benassi or whatever. I've got, we'll do a Midwest run. I'll do Cleveland, Nashville, Columbus. And then the next weekend we'll do a Texas run. So it just, that's kind of how it built out the company at the time. And, I got everywhere from New York to Miami to, Seattle to LA, so, I mean, it was working. I was just really bad at contracts.
What made you say that?
Because I had a lot of partners. I've had a lot of partners, and they haven't all ended very well. So
that's the joys of business, though, right? When money,
I'm not going to change. So I'm not. I'm still bad at contracts. So, so that's on them. That's on them. That's not on me.
So you kind of one of the reasons why electronic music grew back into the States after the crash, right? You kept the scene going.
I mean, look, there was a lot of people. I don't want to I'm not taking credit for anything, but I was there, and I wasn't stopping, and it was rough. It was some very lean years. My wife was doing a residency. We were having our second kid.
Yeah.
I can't, I have like very little money coming in. I'm still doing shows all over the place, but it's not really, I wouldn't say it's financially successful.
Yeah.
I can't get any credit cards. I'm at the gas station trying to put gas in the car, and I can't, all of them are maxed out. You have to borrow your wife's credit card, and it's not like it wasn't a good feeling. It was a lot of lean times, and a lot of times where I had to really think can I do this? So, and there was a lot of people that I worked with that just tapped out and just said, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to go get a job. I'm like, this is a job. We got jobs. Nobody thinks it's a job, but we got jobs. But yeah.
Well, I think the thing is when you love doing something that you do, you will literally just go until it ends to keep going.
No, I mean,
right?
Yeah. I mean, I loved it. And it definitely kept it going through through the bad times. I mean, I knew it would come back. I didn't know it would. I never knew it would get as big as it did.
Yeah.
I mean, in an imaginary world, I guess we could say, "Oh, I knew that," but I don't think anybody did.
No.
So when it started like bubbling up again. I mean, I'm talking about from 2001 to
Yeah.
2007, 8. I mean, that's a long time to be paddling, doing a doggy paddle. Hoping that you can get to the end find the island, right? And then when 2007, 8 started hitting, and people started using, dance, started using electronic music and the hip hop songs and Lady Gaga and stuff like that. And now they're playing like dance music on the radio again. So it just really, so
the EDM days saved American
something
dancing.
like that. Yeah,
it's really interesting.
Daft Punk playing at Coachella saved the world.
Was that a huge thing for you guys? Because it was very different in the UK. Like when I'm obviously from the UK, but like growing up in the UK, electronic music scene is always been there ever since the 90s and never really gone away.
Look, when you're in the UK, you're born with that, right?
Yeah.
So when you walk into a McDonald's in Europe, they're playing house music.
Yeah.
So it's that in the United, and so people are like grow up and that's their life, that's their lifestyle.
Totally. Yeah,
they don't wander far from that.
Nope.
And so, but in the States, we change our musical taste like we change our underwear, right? So everybody just every 5 years now, now I'm line dancing. Oh, now I'm hip hop. So like
true.
we don't have like we're not very good at commitment. Let's just put it that way. So it definitely, but it just, you also know that it's going to cycle back and cycle back and cycle back. So when you have downturns, you go back to the bottom of the barrel and then eventually you'll come back up to the top. So that's kind of what we were waiting for. But yeah, that Daft Punk thing, I think it was like where I think that people could finally just putting the visualization with the music, and having all those tastemakers there, and where they were like, oh, like now I get it now, right? So because before it was like, oh, it all sounds the same. It's just bleeps and blips and blah blah blah. But when those people saw the show with the music, then they're like, oh, no, now this makes sense, right? I mean, it's not just the music. It's everything that goes with it. And that's when I think Kanye started sampled them, and that's when people started like taking notice again.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. What was your first ever festival of you actually running?
My first ever festival, wow. I did a outdoor festival. Well, our big shows were like in a theater, right? So we would call them festivals per se. They could be like 5 stages or whatever, but
that's a festival.
That's like a little, I mean, now it is, but I mean, that was at a venue. The first time I did something, it was at a college. It was like 98. And I was working with my partner was actually the owner of the venue of the theater that I worked with. So thank God he was there, because I had no clue what I was doing, and would have been it would have been an epic disaster. Like I don't even think I ordered. I think the sound guy we're doing load in the stage, and the guy's like, "Where's the fence?" And I'm like, "Fence." He's like, "Yeah, you need a fence." I was like, "Oh yeah." So I mean, this is kind of a little kid trying to do a big show, and we had like 8,000 people.
Wow!
It was 2 stages. It went till 7 a.m.
How do you even sell? How do you even sell 8,000 tickets?
I don't know. It was, at the time, 8,000 then was like it was like 20, 30,000
Yeah.
like 2 years later. So, and if we could have been able to, it was great. The show was great. There was no issues. Just with the college wouldn't let us do it again. I guess they had some issues, but if we would have been able to do it the next year, it would have been 20,000 people, and it would have been better because I learned. And then my first LA experience was I think it was like a partner with Pasquale, and we did like Nocturnal in '99, and that was like my first like basically we had sold like 8,000 pre-sales, and literally like 20,000 people showed up.
No way.
Trying to get in the gates, and we were just unprepared, so it was creating like the venue had a show there the week before, and I think they had like 3,000 or 4,000 people. So I think that's kind of what they were expecting. And we kind of blew that out of the water. And so the people were, tearing down the gates. And I mean, I don't know if you ever, LA is like a whole different animal.
Yeah.
Like that energy there is crazy. Like, so people were like, there was metal fences. It's at the National Orange Show where they still do shows. And so they would go through fences and they break down a section, and everybody would just run in, and then security would run over there and put the fence back up, and then they break down another section. So they, I think we ended up getting about 8,000 people in, but they had the police helicopters and everything, and they ended up tear gassing like the gate. It was crazy.
That's wild.
I mean, like Groove Rider. I remember all these Groove Rider got tear gassed, and all these artists coming in with like, I was like, I don't want to do shows in LA.
No.
So I've had some rough experiences, but you learn from them, right?
Yeah, it's the whole fun of it. And I think at the time it's all super stressful when it happens, but then a few months later you can laugh about it, and then a few years later it's the best story ever.
I'm laughing about it now, I guess. Yeah, so exactly. I had to stay in LA. And for like 2 or 3 weeks just to refund like the people that didn't get in. So it was crazy.
Really? That's mad.
Yeah.
Do you still partner with Pasquale at all?
No. I think that our business relationship ended like in 2012.
Yeah.
So we still chat.
Still on good terms though.
Yeah, I am. You have to ask him.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense.